Recently, a major American carrier got dragged into a storm it did not create. And if you blinked, you might have missed the truth beneath the outrage. The story goes like this. Werner Enterprises, one of the biggest names in trucking, was supposedly importing Kenyan drivers to replace American truckers. Cue the outreach machine. Memes, hashtags, boycotts. The internet did what the internet does best. Convict first, ask questions never. Except here's the inconvenient detail. Werner said explicitly, it is not true. No secret deal, no backroom arrangement, no convoy of foreign scabs rolling across I-80. They called the rumor false. That matters. It matters because the rumor wasn't just wrong, it was weaponized. So let's slow this down. Where did the rumor even come from? Nebraska and Kenya signed a broad labor cooperation memorandum. Yes, that happened, and the Kenyan press began talking up American dream job opportunities, including trucking. That's how international PR works. Politicians shake hands, local outlets pitch hope. But a state-to-country handshake is not a work visa, and it's certainly not a job at Werner. Kenya's media hyped possibilities, American social media translated possibilities into Werner's importing drivers tomorrow morning. Those are not the same thing. This is a case study in how a headline mutates after 10 shares and a spicy caption. Werner responded publicly more than once saying there is no agreement, no pipeline, no plan to recruit Kenyan drivers. This wasn't a denial hidden in footnotes. It was spelled out in plain English on their official channels. The reporting that touched off the debate highlighted exactly that. A rumor met with a flat denial. If you care about facts, that should be the end of it. But facts don't trend like outrage. The clips with the most views weren't the clarifications. They were the videos promising betrayal. That tells you something about our media diet and how easy it is to feed it. Now, here's the larger context the viral posts skip. Even if a carrier wanted to recruit foreign drivers right now, the State Department has paused worker visa issuance for commercial truck drivers, H-2B temps, certain E-2 investors, and EB-3 skilled workers pending a review. That pause means the pipeline is shut. You can't flood the zone with foreign drivers when the government has literally turned off the spigot. So the rumor about imminent hiring runs headfirst into federal policy. It can be true today, even if someone wished it were. That matters. It's the difference between reality and talking point. It's worth asking why this blew up the way it did. Two reasons. First, trucking is a pressure cooker. Rates are weak, bankruptcies are up, and a lot of drivers feel abandoned by the same institutions that promised them respect. When people are hurting, rumors about replacement feel plausible. Second, immigration is still live wire in American politics. Plug almost anything into it, jobs, wages, safety, and it sparks. You don't need a conspiracy when the incentive to sensationalize is right out in the open. Outrage equals clicks, and clicks equal money. But it's exactly in those moments you need discipline. Because once you call a company un-American, you can't unsay it. And sometimes it's just not true. Irony alert. The same people shouting, "Do your research," often don't do theirs. A quick check would have shown the visa pause. A quick check would have found Werner's denial. A quick check would have separated state-level MOU from private staffing plan. Instead, we got stitched clips implying a multinational plot. This is the new political economy. Short videos, long consequences. What if a boycott over nothing puts American drivers on that company's routes at risk of layoffs? Who pays the price then? The creators who farmed the outreach, or the drivers who lose a load board slot because a falsehood scared the customer away? We know the answer. Let's talk about the Nebraska-Kenya agreement for a second, because it's getting twisted into a cartoon. States sometimes explore labor or trade cooperation with other countries, especially when they're trying to lure investment or fill real shortages. Those agreements are vague by design. They signal openness, but a memorandum of understanding is not a magic wand that overrides federal immigration law or the Department of State. It's a press release with letterhead. You still need federal visas, you still need FMCSA compliance, you still need a carrier willing to sponsor. None of that exists in this rumor, and Werner says it won't. That should matter to any honest observer. Of course, some will say, but they'll do it later, just wait. Maybe not. Here's the adult answer. If the policy changes, if visas resume, if a company actually files for a labor certifications or announces a program, we'll cover it. That's called evidence. And when there is evidence, the debate should be about trade-offs. Wages, supply chains, road safety, not about ghosts conjured by algorithm-driven panic. If you think bringing in foreign drivers harms American wages, make that argument with data and policy, not with rumors. The trucking sector deserves a serious conversation, not a social media trial. Let's zoom out. The American Trucking Associations have cheered the visa pause, arguing it protects domestic jobs and safety. Labor groups have long asked for that kind of restraint. At the same time, some industry voices point out that carriers leaned on foreign labor primarily in niche cases and in tiny numbers relative to the 3+ million CDL holders nationwide. In other words, this is a very loud fight over a very small slice of the labor market. But when politics get involved, small facts become big symbols. That's what you're watching, a symbolic war. And you might notice who benefits from the symbol. Politicians get a narrative. We're protecting American workers. Content creators get views. They're replacing you. Media outlets get traffic. Meanwhile, the mid-career owner-op who just had a lane cut doesn't get a lane back. The 20-year-old rookie who can't find a trainer because freight is soft still can find a trainer. Symbols don't move freight, trucks do. If the outreach cycle does not translate into better rates, safer roads, and saner regulations, then it's a sideshow. Now, for the people who say it doesn't matter whether this rumor was true, companies want to replace us. Okay, let's test that. If carriers truly wanted to swap US drivers for foreign labor at scale, they'd need a legal framework, a steady visa channel, and a political environment that won't blow up the moment it's announced. Today, they have none of those. They have the opposite, a visa freeze in a political climate that punishes the mere suggestion. Werner's denial wasn't just a PR line. It was a survival instinct in a country that's had enough of outsourcing. That's called reality. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of the loudest voices melting down about Kenyan drivers know this. But outreach is addictive. It's also profitable. If you want to help American truckers, stop rewarding the people who lie to them. Force the conversation back to the fundamentals, insurance costs, nuclear verdicts, predatory lease purchases, broker transparency. California's emissions maze, and the Federal Reserve crushing demand. Those are real. They don't trend as easily, but they decide whether you make a mortgage payment. Simple as that. And what about the media that piled on without reading this statement? Shameful. If your job is to inform the public, you don't get to shrug after the damage is done. We all know how this works. The correction never catches up with the original claim. But you can decide which channels you trust. Follow outlets that link the primary sources, cite agency policy, and quote the companies involved. In this case, the reporting that actually moved the conversation forward came from platforms that did the basics. Call the company, verify the policy, check the visa status. That's not heroism. That's journalism 101. Let me end with a simple standard. If a story claims a specific company is importing workers next week, it should have at least one of the three things: a contract, a visa program in force, or an on-the-record admission. This rumor had none of them. It had a 40 news splash about a diplomatic handshake, a pile of speculation, and an American company saying, "No, we're not doing that." That is not a scandal. That is the absence of one. And yet, an absence became a firestorm because panic is a business model. So here's what we do. We refuse to be used. We punish lies with indifference. We reserve our anger for the things that actually hurt people. Policies that squeeze margins, regulations that pretend California is the only state that matters, legal frameworks that let billion-dollar verdicts destroy family fleets, and an interest rate policy that's made freight trash like a fish on a hook. You want to be mad at that. And when a company is accused of something, demand proof, then judge. America needs a trucking industry that's tough, paid, and respected. It also needs a public that does not fall for every shiny outrage dangled in front of it. Because if we can't tell the difference between a rumor and a plan, between a press release and a policy, we're not just losing the argument. We're losing the country's attention span. And that's the one supply chain we can't afford to break. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps the channel grow, and it lets me keep bringing you more content just like this. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.